Okay, everybody, welcome to Live Scribbles with Jonathan. You can check out my website and my work at jonathanrector.com. And before we get into tonight's thing, there's no real updates as to what's going on. The standard that I have worked on for a very long time is moving along really well, thanks to Mr. Robson Inc. in the chat. Will Robson, he's been helping out with the artwork as well. So be sure to check him out on Facebook if you're following me. If you're not following me and you're interested in the kind of stuff that I'm doing, or the standard, or what we're going to be looking at today, this page, check all that good stuff out, and you'll be good to go. And I wanted to say really quickly, thanks to everybody else that's been tweeting, sharing, retweeting, liking all the stuff I'm doing on YouTube, and even here on the live stream. That's been it's been great. Really appreciate the support on that. And so yeah, so that's all the news out of the way. And just for those that are new, that haven't been here too often, this whole hour here is for you guys and you girls out there. So if you guys have any art questions or comments, or you guys need a little help with anything, maybe I can help you out. Let me know, and I will do my best to help you out. It can be anything from, like, can you help me draw an arm, to do you like Manga Studio 4, or do you like Manga Studio 5, or is Photoshop better? All that good stuff. But yeah, and if you have a question, please just leave it in the chat. Just put it in all capitals. I really appreciate that. It just makes it a little bit easier to go through and find that stuff if the conversation starts getting crazy town. Right now, I'm just moving these gestures of these characters down here. We got the standard on the left and the bad guy on the right. And this is the big... I'll show you what's going on here. If you guys were here during the pre-show, you may have seen me sketching this bad boy together. Just trying to find a good angle here to get the standard. I don't want to interfere too much with the panel above it. We'll try that. We'll try this one out here. And I'm just going to go through and show you guys this page here before we go to the next step, which will be a sort of tight pencil stage. And you'll see what I mean by tight pencils. This still here, if I zoom in, you know, arguably this is some tight pencil work. You know, there's a lot of information that's happening here. But if you look at this guy on the right, this skeleton-looking dude, anything under this knee is just a mess of scribbles. It's not enough information for myself to go in there. This kind of deal here would be my tight pencils, I would say. I will be going in here and adding a little extra layer to it just to clean it up a bit. But in this page, what is happening is we have the hero on the left of standard and the bad guy who is holding a girl hostage, and he's finally come to confront the bad guy. So the bad guy, you know, they're getting that standoff. Wanted to show the different stances between the two characters just to help give it a little bit, you know, this is composition, this is in animation, movies, and comics as well. People talk about giving a silhouette to your character that's a little different. And a silhouette would be if I fill this entire character with black, how would they look compared to the other characters? So a really quick thing you can do here, and a lot of people do this stuff too, is you can look at this character and you might just right away, I would hope you would think a Superman type character. That's our hero. The way he's standing is much different than the villain on the right. The villain on the right's got a lot more chaos going on. There's a lot more muscles, but if you look even here, there's a lot of sharp lines and stuff that are going in there to make things, you know, look a little bit more... Can you stop that? That's so annoying. But... oh my god. So there's all these sharp lines here for the bad guy. And the other thing I'm trying to do as well is, if you guys remember our composition in the rule of thirds, if we break this up, I'm trying to have this character here be the prominent figure. It's not necessarily divided perfectly up into thirds, but either way, I want him to be the focus. So I want all the lines, even the straight leg, the whole point of this straight leg here is to help push the attention this way. You know, obviously we have him looking that way. I want that fist going that way. I want this knee going that way. Everything's going there. Once I don't know if we'll get it in this video or not, but even the background, the shadows that I'm going to have, you can see in blue there. All of this is basically in black, leaving all this open, and all of him on this side will be in shadow for the most part. It's going to make him pop with that white background, but that's just going in there showing you that character there. The next panel. It's the same bad guy as up here. He's just hunched forward. They're having a little dialogue back and forth, but it's an extreme foreground shot of the standard, the hero, right here. This will be like hopefully it'll look like his leg. If not, might have to rework that. Here is going to be his fist, and he's starting to charge up with his power. Then we got the last panel here, the third panel, sorry, which is the exact same as the second panel, just flipped perspective. So in the foreground we're the bad guy, and in the background we've got the standard. This one's going to need a little bit extra attention here just because of this last one. If you look at this layer here, this is how big I wanted the characters to be. That way they fit in and everything was good. But you guys have heard me talk before, when you're doing your pages, try to pick, if you can, one panel that's the page. It's the whole point of the page, right? It's the power of it. And I didn't really have one. The characters here, they're really small, you know, and if you look at it, it's a little bit less than half of the entire page, and they're not, you know, they might look cool and stuff, but it's not, you know, there's no impact to it, which might mean this top panel here would be the one that's got the most attention to it, and I don't want that. I just want that to establish it. It's a superhero book. You got the bad guy and the good guy, but the fight, that's usually the power there, right? So if I turn it back on, as you can see here, I made them much bigger. So now undoubtedly, when you look at it, that's where your eye hopefully should go. And if I do my job right, that's exactly where it'll be there. Ian Cobb had a question. Any thoughts on Sketchbook Pro? I think I'd messed around with that once. I downloaded it because I heard a lot of people talking about doing pencil work and stuff in there. I can't really remember it, to be honest with you, so I couldn't give you a solid review. I don't really like the idea of jumping back and forth between software, so doing pencils in Sketchbook Pro and then bringing that into Manga Studio doesn't really appeal to me. I mean, it could work though, and if it does, it doesn't really matter what my workflow is, right? You just got to find out what works for you. But I have heard a lot of good things about it. And again, from what I hear too as well, Manga Studio's got the best inking stuff. I've used Photoshop, and myself, I would agree that Manga Studio is much better for inking. As for pencils, you can see I'm in Manga Studio 5 now. I don't know if I'm going to make the switch here. You guys hear me talking about it all the time. And even in these streams, I'll go between them, flip-flop back and forth, see which one I like. Right now, for the role-playing project that you guys saw me working on as well, Manga Studio 5's got some really sweet stuff going on that I like, and the inking, and there's a lot of things I think we'll talk maybe in a different video, not necessarily tonight, but sorry, just trying to think about the anatomy here for this hand, but yeah, so that's what we'll be working on tonight there. No, Will, he likes Manga Studio 4. And there's nothing wrong with that. You know, like I say, it's whatever whatever gets you the best results. And that kind of goes against what I said a little earlier about Sketchbook Pro. I haven't really messed around with it too much, so it might be the best thing, the best program for me to use for pencils. I'm not sure. I should definitely give it a go. That way I could give it that kind of attention, but it's hard when you need to hammer out pages to find the time to go in there and start messing around. So I'm using this excuse of the role-playing project there to do work in Manga Studio 5 to see if it. I don't necessarily want to say solve problems, because Manga Studio 4 is awesome. I don't have a single complaint with that program at all. The only thing I don't like about it, that's not even a fault of the program, well, no, because in Manga Studio 4 you can make your own brushes, so I just haven't taken the time to do it. There's some of the lines that I get out of Manga Studio 4 I don't like, and when I was messing with Manga Studio 5 over the weekend, you guys probably saw me dumping a whole bunch of pictures. You know, I really like the pencil. I think it's far superior than 4. Again, myself. And I'm starting to warm up with the inking tools as well. And I can't really describe why or what it is that's making it that I like it more. It feels smooth, I guess, a little more smooth than Manga Studio 4. And I don't know what it is. I really can't put my finger on what it is. It just feels a little better sometimes. One thing that I am trying to work on, and hopefully you guys will see it in a second here, once we jump to the pencil stage, is incorporating your shadows in with your line art. And I've done a video on this. I've talked about it. I used to do it quite a bit, but you know, going to ink straight digitally, sometimes it's a lot of work, and the final result, again, for myself, I don't really like the way it looks, so I need to adjust a little bit what I'm doing. How can I get some more of my my pencils, or even when I would ink with like just a that C-Tech pen that I talk all about, that I really like. I like the lines that gets. Trying to figure out ways of getting that into the digital stuff, and I think that's the stage to go into for myself. But yep. Alright, so let's clean this up. Alright, so we're going to say this will be our gesture here. Oh yeah, I forgot about this page up here. Alright, so as you can see, we got the standard here in the above panel here. He's looking at us up here, and what I'm trying to do is frame him. What I'll do is I'll just do this instead of having it overlap. I'm trying to frame him with the bad guy's arm. And you got the bad guy's arm way over here in a fist. Yeah, let's just get it back. It's the same thing I'm doing with the above panel up here, except it's a leg instead of that, just to show like the different levels that the characters are at. Justin is asking, hey Justin, what about Painter? I tried Painter way back in the day, like around 2002 or 3, and the reason I got into that is I saw a lot of people that were posting, I don't know if it was DeviantArt at the time or somewhere else, they were posting these really cool Street Fighter drawings from like Capcom and stuff, and it was, at that time, it was this really weird way of coloring, and I wanted to do it so bad, draw like that so bad, I just couldn't figure out a way to do it. So I had left it alone. But I've tried to draw in there. The thing that I'll just be honest with you guys. If you're doing comic books, just use Manga Studio. Don't worry about Photoshop. Just use Manga Studio. The tools it has to make comics is so much easier. Not to say that you can't do it in Photoshop. I'm not saying that. But if you have the choice, and if you use Photoshop, I know a lot of people use Photoshop, just give Manga Studio a shot. The interface is all kinds of fucky. It's going to take time to get used to it, the playground and stuff, but it's definitely worth the investment. Especially just for inking alone. Ian is asking, Jonathan, would you be put off by suggestion or thought concerning the composition of panel 1? Never. Feel free to criticize my stuff all the time, or if something you think might look or work better, by all means, please do that. Alright, so let's try in the meantime. I just want to see here. I'm still trying to find a good tool here for to do the pencil stage, you know. A lot of the time I'll just use like a brush or something, and it feels a little too clean. Even the mechanical pencil, which I usually like, it's a little, I don't know. Let's try if we can go into gray. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. I was using Manga Studio earlier today, and I can only, apparently, maybe it's only in black and white. Let me check here. File. I think there's a way. Let me just see something here. Edit. No. Change image resolution. Canvas size. Is it in there? Crop mark, default border deleted. I don't even know what that means. Yeah, I don't know. For some reason I can't get grays, which is okay, I guess, but oh, it's the rough pencil. This isn't Alright, well, let's just tighten this up with that. Okay, so I just want to see, Ian had a suggestion here. Let me just bring up the page, or the panel he's talking about, so we can all see. Hopefully you guys can still see it with that. Because the figures are the same size, they look like they're a bit too much on the same plane. So the villain looks a bit wimpy, perhaps. He seems too small, like what's going on with the other figure, though. Oh, okay. The other figure here, he's dropping. In the previous page, he was holding her up by the neck, strangling her. If you can kind of see, I mean, it's probably a little harder to see. He is bigger than this guy back here to do the exact same thing you were suggesting. But now that you say it, I can't unsee it. So what I think we'll try doing here is we'll just highlight and we'll make it much bigger. Not too much. So I'm going to have to go in there and adjust his face a little bit. Yep, I think so far anyway, I mean, I appreciate that. So I'm going to use it for now and see what we think when we get there. Thank you. Alright, let's try to get the... So this stage here is what I would call the type pencils. This is what I'll be inking over. Has it got stabilization on it? No. And I was watching this couple of videos that were posted online, and Dave Gibbons was in it. I don't know if you guys are familiar with him. He was the artist on The Watchmen. Anyway, apparently a lot of the stuff he does is digital as well. And what he brought up was, you know, something I always remember and try to think about, but I just want to share it with you guys because I think it's pretty important, especially when we're doing what you see me doing here, where we're redrawing something like almost 3 to 4 times, is each stage that you move ahead, so in this case the pencil stage, use what you've done before, so you can see the gesture underneath, use that as a guide, not to copy it. And the whole reason for that is you want to keep as much energy in this as you possibly can at all times. And one way, and this is just a personal preference, one way that you can keep that energy the best that you possibly can at all times is to don't worry about going in here and adding all the rendering and the detail that you would normally put in there in the final piece. Just keep it in mind, and if you have an idea of where it should go, toss it in, but don't feel like you are a prisoner to it. As you can see, yeah, thanks a lot, Ian. It was a really good suggestion. Lilac is asking, John, are we going to see some more of you testing some new techniques for inking tonight? I'm not sure. Perhaps. I mean, we could try doing the standard here once I get the art done. So let me just take a look. This nose is kind of losing it a bit. Okay, so the new inking that he's talking about was something that I was posting over the weekend on Facebook for the role-playing project. And all it was really is I was watching some Scott Williams. He's a inker at DC. I believe he's still at DC. And yeah, well, how was his ear popping out too? I was just watching how these people try to traditionally ink, like with real tools, and try to bring that into what I do here. And what I was finding out, at least what it seemed, and I understand the video that I was watching was sped up and all that good stuff, but it was a lot of like fast work, you know, like a lot of pressure pushing and pulling. What I mean by that is like when you push on the screen and pull away from the screen, or if you're using the tablet, when you push on the tablet, pull away from the tablet. What you can do is you can get some really cool effects like this, like that line right there. Like here, I'll just do this real quick so you guys can see. I'm going to turn this layer blue. We'll turn the layer underneath it off. We'll just make a new layer. So what I would do first here is sort of the contour here, thinking of the light source. So light source, we'll keep it simple. It's coming from the top. Do a lot of pushing and pulling, but you're really pressing down on wherever the light is opposing, like the opposite shape there. So it actually looks a lot similar to like these rough pencils we have underneath. Just put this here. I just want to have his face in there so we can go to the next stage here. So if I turn it off, it's a little harder to see exactly what the hell's going on, but you can see that there's a lot of openness here and there's a lot of emptiness going on, right? And if I had the layer underneath, then I could put the shading that I would have. But I don't know if it's Manga Studio 5 or whatnot, but I'm able to get these really cool thin lines going on. And I don't know, it just feels like it's changing a lot of... It's giving me something that I didn't feel like I had in Manga Studio 5. But it's funny because like, I can use lines up here using the same pressure, and those are drastically thicker than going in the opposite direction. So I don't know what that's about. Either way, it's this is this is a really brutal way to show you what I was working on, but yeah, we'll get there once we get to the pencils here. Yeah, I'll just turn that off. Oops. Okay, so let's try to figure out where we're going next. Here, let's have some fun here and draw this hand. So what I'm thinking about lately when doing this kind of stuff is keeping it, like I've said to death here, loose and stuff. But I like having the underdrawing underneath here so I can still see what's going on. But drawing it like this and then adding a shadow layer underneath just helps speed things up. And I'm not sure if we're going to have time tonight for that. This kind of feels like I'm drawing with like a marker tool. But again, these are the stages here where I'm worrying about, or trying to worry about anatomy. And then we would do another layer over top really quickly for the costume. Let's get that other tricep going. So zoom out here, see where we're at. So this arm is really out there. Personally, I dig this stuff when you got this gigantic muscle back there, but I think I'm just gonna bring it in here just to make it look like it should probably be around here. Let's make it a little bit less crazy. Alright, we'll get that muscle in there, going to the bone. Just trying to remember, or try to remember, I'm trying to show you here as well, is this arm is going that way, so a lot of the muscles, even though, you know, like this is coming into the bicep, the shoulder, this line is very important at the top of the bicep. This line is very important at the top of the forearm to give the illusion that this action is happening. Just erase this here. That's funny. I'm gonna have to tone this down a bit because Gilbert He's supposed to be an old man in this part of the story, and no old man is this tanked. Well, that's a lie. Most old men aren't this tanked. And I think I'm also going to make his head bigger because he's starting to look a little Captain America-ish, which is fine, but not when he's an older dude. Yeah, we'll push his head back a bit. Oh god, okay, we got a whole bunch. Robson Inc. Tips on drawing really short hair, like a bit thicker than a buzz cut. Okay, let's get a new page going here, so we can draw that for you guys. Okay, so pencil working now? Okay, cool. So there's something jacked with that other file. I don't know why it's doing that, but okay, so let's get a head. Alright, so what I like to do with hair, and I think most of you guys do it. If you don't, I would recommend it. Think of at least where the hairline is going to be for your character. So if it's like balding, maybe they've just got a ridiculous hairline like that. That's just like a box shape. Most people got like a little bit of a curve here, especially if you're getting a little older. Bring it in. Now the reason why you put this in there is it lets you know where to start. So let me just lower this and we'll get a new layer and we'll just ink it in here. So what I would do to do really short hair is this hairline is very important. Let me just draw the ear because we're gonna have to get in there. I'll just do like little hash marks like this, going left and right, up and down, whatever feels good. Very small, just to frame where this is here, okay? So that would be his hair. Now the next stage you can do is you just basically do the rest. It's a little bit longer. You do the exact same thing above it. And I'll start doing these longer straight lines too, just to break it up, just to give it some more life to it. And then that would literally be it. The next step that you might do for shadowing or shading was, if your light's here, instead of doing like black lines, you don't necessarily have to, but you can just do darker lines like this to where the shadow would be. Be a little careful because it's starting to get a little afro-ish, which isn't the same. So that'd be how I would do it, like that. And then maybe, you know, you'd go in there and adding a few lines throughout. That gets a little tough. Now if you're going thinner than that, I would probably still do the same thing. Maybe keep it a little bit more broken up. That going. And then on this side I would probably keep it a lot closer to the skin or the scalp, like that. I would still do this sort of short hair thing over on the side, but other than that I would leave it like that myself. When lighting comes in, then you would probably start going in here and just doing very thin. The idea is to give the illusion that lines are very thin because it's very faint or not really there. Oh nice. Actually, forget that. Show us the form you use for your knuckles, as in break down your knuckle style into a simple shape so that I can copy that shiz. Alright, so how I do my knuckles. So we draw the classic hand that everybody draws up here. I don't always use the circle shape to establish where my knuckles are. If it's a complicated pose, I might do this, but generally I don't do it too often. Alright, but what it's going to let us do is know where the knuckle should be. Okay, so for that it serves its purpose. What I do is, it's like a diamond shape. That's it. if it's a diamond shape and you erase the tips of the diamond off and just go like that, there you go. That's essentially the shape I'm going for. So let's do it at the basic here. So we've got a diamond, 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 and we're just going to erase, and then that would be it. And what I would do is, depending on the direction that these fingers are following, that's where I would render it. So these sausage links are going that way. Let me actually draw that on the layer below so you guys can remember that. And I would render it in like that. Or you can go a straight line, continue it in, it's okay. And then down here is where it starts to get, I'm still doing the render thing that I always do, but lighting comes in here and you can start getting some wild, you know, veins and tendons and stuff happening. So, kind of look like that. For a more complicated pose of the hands, let's say, I don't know, we'll just come up with something. Maybe it's coming at us, so put a finger here. Alright, so we got this really gnarly hand. It's hard to see the knuckles, but there's still a knuckle here. And notice how I'm not drawing a circle, or it's more of an oval because it's falling into perspective back there. You're only going to see one knuckle here, so this probably was a bad example of what to do. But we'll just do this one hand, this one finger, I mean, right here. Just get the folds in here. I would just do the top part and then render up like that. Maybe put a little shadow underneath the bottom knuckle. So something like that. One more quick one, I guess. Maybe we can get some more knuckle action. I'll just try to draw my hand here, do something wild to my hand. What we got? Alright, let's draw a fist, I guess. Alright, and again, alright, so now that we got that idea, again, we'll go in there. And remember that diamond shape. Now the reason I should say this too, okay, so the diamond shape goes like this, but in 3/4 perspective, or an actual perspective, it's a diamond like this, okay? And the light would be coming here. So remember that. You don't have to draw the lines that are always at the bottom, but if you wanted to put the shadow, just for the sake of what we're doing, we'll do that. And then again, those connecting tendons and stuff in there. So hopefully that helped you out there. John, when doing a page, do you recommend inking or rendering first? Very good question. I'm getting into the habit now of trying to ink and render at the same time. I think you can get some really cool effects that way. Also, it might just be a speed thing. Rendering and all that stuff at the same time makes a lot of sense. I will say that I'm trying to go down that route now to see where or what it looks like as we get there. But the one thing besides speed that it'll give you is a little bit of energy that you can carry out throughout the whole thing. The one step in between that I need to do that and I'd recommend you guys do it, is just say this is our type pencils here. Make a new layer, probably underneath, like that. And I can't really do the gray or anything here, but we'll do it in blue. And just kind of paint in where your shadows would go. So, you know, we would go this route with it. Maybe I'd even go ahead and throw a little rendering. Cast shadow for the neck. Oh, that huge muscle back there. And like I said before, don't ever feel like what you're putting down has to stay that way. You know, like here we go. So this character's done, let's just say. Now that I have that, I can, you know, leave this blue, turn this layer blue as well, maybe, if it wants to go blue. I don't know what's going on with Manga Studio here. This is layer color. Do you wanna go blue, maybe? Ouch. Man, Manga Studio's being a little dangerous today. So now that you have it, you can see it. So you have it. Now when I would actually go into ink and render, like you suggested, I have an idea, a much better idea of where my lines would be placed based on the shadow that I have. Okay, so you can go in there and you can go, I kind of get. Hopefully, like, am I making sense? I feel like I might be jumping around a lot on you guys. Is that Ryan Oatley style that inspired those knuckles? I would say yes, Ryan Oatley for sure. Oops, hit the mute button there. Ryan Oatley on Invincible for sure. What's it called? Joe Madureira, absolutely. And who else? These knuckles. Somebody else. I think it was Arthur Adams. Really love the way he draws knuckles too. The way I look at it, it's like those are like the you know what I mean, like probably the most important part of the hand outside of the fingers that'll actually show emotion and description. But those knuckles, there's so much power in them. It's like all this muscle, and like the fingers are so intricate. When you start throwing on a sharp bone above everything, like there's a lot of power to be had there, and it's a shame when you can't use it. No, I don't know why I can't do gray. This file, for some reason, when I had it open, I haven't had a chance to go through it before the show started, so I just kind of kept drawing. But I opened up a new file and it was fine, so I don't know if there's something. There's got to be something with this layer. And we're gonna get his costume going soon. Am I familiar with the art? Ryan Sook. No, I haven't. You guys came with that Ryan Oatley. Oh, am I saying it wrong? Is it Otley? Otley? Ryan Otelli? Alright, I just want to start carving in some of this line weights down here. Kind of get his backside going. So it's Otley. I have no idea where I'm getting Oatley from. You're right. Ottley. Ryan Otley. Sounds better. Alright, let's get over here to Captain Funtown. We'll do one more layer. In this one we go red. I like red. That's a good color. And with this one, you guys have seen me do this before. I've kind of stopped doing it, but I would like to get back into it. Again, watching those Dave Gibbons videos, the way he put it out just made me want to go back to it a little bit. But adding different colors to your stuff, just so you can start adding different elements. So in this case, I'm going to use red. There's no reason I'm using red. Just red, blue, green seems like the familiar colors. And I'll use that for costume design. So he's been beat up quite a bit, so his costume's pretty ripped and torn in a lot of places. Let's see how we're going to render this one. Just zoom out a bit. Yes, I'm Canadian, so things process a little slower for me when it comes with pronouncing names and words. Alright, so we're going to have his cape come this way. And it's torn to all hell. His face mask, you can see I was already getting in there a little bit with that. But I'm going to have to look at the reference. He's got a lot of poppy stuff over there. Like he's got a swollen eye and a jacked up mouth. I think I gave him cauliflower ears too. Just gave him the works. In the last issue, he got in a fight with the same dude. Didn't really go too well in his favor, and he got knocked out. And the bad guy threw him through a window of a skyscraper. Oh God! So he fell all the way, and he, just didn't do too well. So he hasn't had much time to get a brand new costume. So his costume is supposed to look pretty rough. Maybe we'll rip that open there. He's got a little bit of hair here, so maybe we'll rip this side open. He's balding. Yeah, that's fine. Do you have any... Sorry, Pinkerton64 is asking, do you have any books you browse through for inspiration before you start drawing? No. I used to. But to be honest, I just I don't have the time for it. The time that I do have for my comic book work is very precious. And on top of that, adding the willpower, as sad as that sounds, to get to the desk and work is enough battles on their own. But Mr. Rob Snake in the chat, what he's got me doing is kind of the opposite, where it's before you go to bed looking at that stuff. I believe he does it. He can correct me if I'm wrong with it, but I believe he goes as far as doing actual study sessions, he likes to call them. So drawing in bed while looking through, like I think he was having a little bit of problems with some hair recently. So I'm assuming that he went through some comics of his favorite artists and just kind of studied to see what they're doing, like what are they doing with their hair, like shading it, rendering it, how do they draw, big hair, small hair, don't care, that kind of stuff. And so what I've been doing is I've been trying to do that as well. I haven't gotten into the phase just yet of bringing the old sketchbook to the bed as well and studying that way, but I don't think there's anything wrong with checking other people's art before you work. Be a little careful though, because what can happen more often than not is you'll start to use that as a crutch. So starting at all is for me, I don't know about you guys, I'm assuming for most of you guys out there, that's your hardest part too, is just getting started. So looking through artwork can work for some people. You got to find out what works for you. It doesn't really work for me necessarily, because I could be looking at stuff forever, and then eventually you'll realize you're like, I should be working, and that I don't want to get in that. I'd rather just sit down and go, and get going. And the other bad thing that can happen from it is you'll start to, the crutch part, a lot of people talk about this too, is you can't draw something like a hand or a fist or a hairstyle, and what you'll do is you'll just grab the book of your favorite artist and spend the next 5 to 30 minutes looking through all their work that you got and trying to find like a pose or something that you need. And there's a lot to be said that, you know, go ahead, do that for a while, but eventually you're going to get to a point, and you'll know when you get to this point. You should know, if you're honest with yourself, like if you're there already, or if you're, you know, I probably shouldn't be looking at all this stuff when I can't draw this hand. You know, if it's a deadline, you guys have heard me say this plenty of times, if there's certain deadlines that you absolutely have to hit and you can't do something on your own and you need to use something that many people might say would be just downright cheating, you know, a deadline's a deadline. And these same people that are saying, you know, cheating and all that fun stuff, they don't have your deadline. And I'm not going to start defending people that just blatantly swipe. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm just, you know, I'm not going to get into that conversation right now. But anyway, I didn't want to go into a whole thing with that. So let me just go up here and read it for those watching in the pre-recording thing. Robson was saying he always takes 20 minutes to pick a random trade paperback from his wall and drool before he goes to work. And then he spends the day, he starts the day with looking and then ends the night with an hour of study. Corgiro, hopefully I'm saying your name right. You spend a lot of time drawing anatomy that is going to get covered up by clothes or other characters. Wouldn't it be pragmatic to do that in the rough pencil stage? Let me just reread that there. You spend a lot of time drawing anatomy that is going to get covered up by clothes or other characters. Wouldn't it be more pragmatic to do? Yes, it would. It would absolutely make a lot of sense to do that. The only thing is these characters that I'm drawing, they're all in spandex, and the amount of clothing that I'm covering those doesn't even matter. Like if you look at this guy, let's just say I had drawn in, like I have them in the thumbnail, but for me I need to draw this connective stuff so that it makes sense to me. If I don't do this, sometimes it'll get lost and wonky and stuff like that. So, you know, there is that. But yes, especially if you're drawing, like, let's say a crowded scene down the street, I would not recommend going in and, you know, drawing every single perspective of this guy walking down the street. And you got to do this a bunch of times. I would highly recommend just doing, you know, the shape stuff, where you can start to figure out, you know, certain shapes that people have. You'll get more energy and speed this way, absolutely. All right, how much? Okay, wow. Okay, damn. No, no, no. Okay, I just want to say this right now for everybody that's because Kojiro is the second guy to kind of how do I word this? He's the second guy tonight that has seemed that he feels like he might come across as a dick or something, whether he's recommending it to me or other people. I just want to say, whenever you guys come to this show, by all means, criticize all that stuff, as long as it's in a healthy way. And that doesn't mean sugarcoat everything. It's just, there was one person that used to come in here. I haven't seen, I even forget their name, to be honest with you. And you guys might remember him. I believe it was a him. But he would always criticize people, but like in a negative way, like, why are you still drawing? Just quit. That's a troll, right? That's not somebody that's trying to get better. If you've got something that you would like to suggest, by all means, throw it out there, because that's how we're going to get better. We're all at different levels of where we want to be, but I can guarantee not all of us, if any of us in this chat room, are where we really want to be 100%. You know, we all want to get better. So, but absolutely, just throw it out there. Just like Lilak's saying, just be respectful. That's all. Yep. No fears. This is a pure criticism, full. I can't even speak. Just critique all the way. Critique, 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 critique. So, what I was going to say a little earlier there was we've got 7 minutes left. So, if you guys have a comment or a question, I see the chat room's getting a little bit bigger. Please put it in all capitals in the chat. And if I can get to it, I will. Don't be ashamed or scared or anything to bring it up. Because, like I say, and I've seen it. I've even seen it in this chat room. If you've got a question, I can guarantee there's at least somebody else, whether they're here right now tonight or they're watching the YouTube video, that has the same question. So don't be shy. Alright, so let's get this in here. Okay. Actually, here, I'll throw this out there right now. So Will and I, we were mostly Will. I'm the one that's usually letting everything down. But he brought up something that we still got to talk a little bit more. And I apologize, Will, if you don't want me to just throw that out there. But would you guys be interested in a podcast? I know it'll be Will and I. Whether it'll just be on YouTube alone or not, not sure. But you know, those are details to worry about at another time. But we talk, you know, we can talk for a very long time when we have our little Skype sessions, and thought it would be cool is just to record them because, you know, it's the same stuff as it's art, right? So what we talk about, I can guarantee other people have talked about or even thought about, and maybe they haven't had anybody around to talk about that stuff too. Art related stuff, obviously, for comics. But just throwing it out there to see if you guys have an interest in that kind of stuff. Ian is asking, hey John, whatever happened to your guest contributor Eric from years back? He's actually in the chat right now. That's Hellblaze123. But what had happened, well, it was nothing that he did or anything he didn't do. It was just a little bit more difficult for me to do this with more people on the show. And I know there's a lot of art stuff and a lot of things people do back and forth where they get a bunch of people together and stuff, and they're okay with it. I just couldn't. It was difficult to work, not because, you know, they were loud or rude or anything like that. It was just it's hard enough for me to keep a sentence going, but to keep a sentence going while watching a chat, I just can't multitask that well. So. Like John, will any chance we can get a duo live stream with both the standards with commentary? I think that'd be awesome. Oh, like you asked a question earlier. Okay, I'll go check that out. What was I gonna say? Yeah, I might be looking into. You guys can let me know how you think about this stuff too. Google Hangouts. I'm not a huge Google fan, but lately some of the stuff they do or that they offer is good. I'm not going to get into political stuff with you guys, but I just noticed too that if I schedule things like, oh, check out the next live stream, it's on Wednesday or whatever. If you have a Google Calendar, if you guys even use that, I thought it was actually pretty cool. I shot it today. That's how far back I am. You can click yes, I'd like to go. And what it'll do is it'll actually put that into your calendar and it can send you an update, which I think is actually, you know, it helps people like me out that I don't have the resources to go ahead and get mailing lists and, you know, try to hound you guys that way if you guys are interested. But yeah, maybe we could try that out. Have ever thought about pre-recording my streams and then discussing them live? Ooh, I don't. That hurts my brain just to think about that. Have you ever thought about pre-recording a stream and then discussing them live? I'm not sure. It sounds a little confusing to me. Maybe I'm looking into it too much. Let me just go up there to make sure I got that other question. Lilac, let's see what your question was in case I missed it. Lilac, I don't see your question. Oh, okay. Oh, thanks, Eric. Yeah, sure. I mean, we could try it. I haven't really thought about that, to be honest. I don't know. I just figured these live ones were something you guys would be more interested in. Would you guys be interested in something like that? Like me just drawing for an hour and then just shooting the breeze with you guys as you talk about it? Oh man, okay. Well, I'm gonna have to think about this stuff because I've never even really. I'm gonna have to look online, I guess, for examples or something, but I'm not too familiar with it. I'm just a simple guy making comics. Anyway, it looks like we're about to wrap this up. So thank you guys so much again for stopping by. I'll see you guys next Wednesday. It's every 8 o'clock p.m. to 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if you're in the chat right now, and maybe you showed up a little bit late, just look at whatever time zone you're in right now, look at the clock, subtract an hour from it, and you are good to go. I will say I'm going to try and schedule in some time to look into the Google Chats, because I think a lot of people would dig that, as well as there's something on the horizon that I have planned to look into as time frees up. You guys know how that is, about scheduling in, like, it's like somebody recommended in the chat a few weeks back, and I think I told you guys about it, where you can donate money if you'd like to support the show just to say thanks. But what you can also do, like all the videos, everything, all the content's all free. That'll never change. But there'll be another section too, which I've talked about adding before, where just for example, say $20 for a donation gets you like an hour or whatever, where you and I can talk privately about your comic books, your work, show me stuff. If you guys need like one-on-one tutoring or something like that, check that out. So again, these are all things that are in the pipes, and they will eventually see the light of day. But comic pages are coming first right now. But anyway, just want to throw that out for you guys as well. But anyway, thanks so much. Keep reading comics, keep making comics, and I'll talk to you next week. Bye.